This is my will and my final message. If these words reach you, know that Israel has succeeded in killing me and silencing my voice. First, peace be upon you and Allah's mercies and blessings. Allah knows that I gave every effort and all my strength to be a support and a voice for my people. Ever since I opened my eyes to life in the alleys and in the streets of the Jabaliyya refugee camp, my hope was that Allah would extend my life so I can return with my family and my loved ones to our original town in occupied Ash'alan. But Allah's will came first, and His decree is final. I have lived through pain in all its details, tasted suffering and loss many times, and yet never once hesitated to convey the truth as it is without distortion or falsification, so that Allah may bear witness against those who stayed silent, those who accepted our killing, and those who choked our breath, and those whose hearts were unmoved by the scattered remains of our children and women, doing nothing to stop the massacre of our people that we have faced for more than a year and a half. I entrust you with Palestine, the jewel of the crown of the Muslim world, the heartbeat of every free person in this world. I entrust you with its people, with its wronged and innocent children who never had the time to dream or live in safety and peace. Their pure bodies were crushed under thousands of tons of Israeli bombs and missiles, torn apart and scattered across the walls. I urge you not to let the chains silence you, nor borders restrain you. Be bridges towards the liberation of the land and its people until the sun of dignity and freedom rises over our stolen homeland. I entrust you to take care of my family. I entrust you with my beloved daughter, Shahem, the light of my eyes, whom I never got the chance to watch grow up as I dreamed. I entrust you with my dear son, Saleh, whom I wish to support and accompany until he grew strong enough to carry my burden and continue the mission, whose blessed prayers brought me to where I am today, whose supplications were my fortress, whose light guided my path. I pray that Allah grants her strength and rewards her on my behalf with all of the best of rewards. I also entrust you with my lifelong companion, my beloved wife, Saleh Bayan, for whom the war separated me for many long days and months. Yet she remained faithful to our bond, steadfast as the trunk of an olive tree that does not bend, patient, trusting in Allah, and carrying the responsibility in my absence with all her strength and faith. I urge you to stand by them, to be their support after Allah Almighty. If I die steadfast upon my principles, I testify before Allah that I am content with His decree, certain of meeting Him, assured that with Allah is better and everlasting. O Allah, accept me among the martyrs, forgive my past and my future sins, and make my blood a light that illuminates the path for the freedom of my people and my family. Forgive me if I have fallen short, and pray for me with mercy, for I have kept my promise and never changed or betrayed it. Do not forget Gaza, and do not forget me in your sincere prayers of forgiveness and acceptance. Anas left these words, as everybody here knows, was killed along with other colleagues from Al Jazeera, including the driver and the cameraman, as a direct attack on the media. Thank you, everybody, for gathering with us in solidarity, in grief, and in defiance. We stand here to honor the memory of those voices too powerful for Israel, Voices that had one job: to tell the truth. Today, we mourn the lives of those journalists targeted and assassinated by Israel in Gaza. But we also stand in outrage because every death is more than just a statistic. It is an unspeakable tragedy. Every journalist who was murdered had a name, had a face, had people they loved and that loved them, and had a family. Every journalist murdered had a dream to make a difference, to expose the truth, and to bear witness to the suffering of their people whose cries for help have been ignored for far too long. Their courage to cover the genocide of their own people was so threatening to the Israeli lie that they had to be violently silenced. Among the most recent casualties of Israel's atrocities was Anas Al Sharif, a brave journalist for Al Jazeera. Anas was not just a reporter. He was a lifeline for millions of people around the world who depended on his stories for the truth from Gaza. His life was taken, just like others, cut short by bullets intended to silence, to erase, to make sure that the world does not hear the screams of Palestine. But let me tell you this: we will hear those screams, we will speak their names, and we will continue to lift their stories. Anas is one of many, unfortunately. The list is long and the toll is heavy. Shireen Abu Akleh, iconic Al Jazeera correspondent, also murdered for simply having the courage to do her job. These are not isolated incidents. This is a pattern, a systemic attack on the press, an attack on truth itself. These deaths are not just casualties of war. They are part of a calculated effort to destroy the very thing that connects the world to the suffering of Gaza and of Palestine, to the horrors of Israel's brutal and barbaric occupation, to the daily genocide of a people who have been denied their basic humanity for generations. And still, despite this ongoing campaign of violence against journalists, we hear silence from too many. We hear media, the so-called, quote, free press, not speaking out, too often turning a blind eye to the killings, the erasure of voices. There is a complicity, a refusal to hold power to account. And this is not just a failure of governments. This is a failure of media institutions that create the public consent for Israel's crimes against humanity. And that is exactly why we stand here today. The Gaza Media Accountability Encampment began on the 28th of July, 2025, after Bisan called us to go to the streets and bang pots and pans. We chose this location because had it not been for the complicity of Western media that has been making excuses for Israel's brutal crimes, there would have been enough public outrage to stop them. Inside these very offices are NBC, MSNBC, Fox, News Nation, ITN, The Guardian, The Hill, and many others. The stories that are told from these buildings shape what the world believes. And right now, the stories that they are telling incorrectly or fail to tell altogether are killing people. Because when the media chooses power and money over truth, it ceases to be journalism and becomes propaganda. And propaganda, as history has showed us, kills. We stand here today defiant and resolute because we know that silence is complicity. By refusing to give the murders the attention they deserve, by accepting the narrative that is seeking to portray these killings simply as collateral damage or the unfortunate side effects of war, quote, end quote. The media becomes part of the machine that perpetuates violence. It becomes complicit in genocide, in apartheid, in illegal occupation, in land theft, and in starving children as a weapon of war. The media allows for the erasure of the Palestinian struggle for justice. They are willing accomplices in the killing of truth itself. But we will not accept that. We are here to say, with all our passion and all the grief that lives in our hearts, that these journalists, these fallen heroes, did not die in vain. Their stories will live on through us. Their words and their actions will also live on through every single person at this visual and around the world that is grieving collectively for Israel's continued assault on Palestine. We will continue to expose the truth even when they try to bury it. We will shout louder, longer, and fiercer than ever before until the world can no longer pretend that it doesn't see the truth that is unfolding in front of our very eyes. To the journalists that are still alive, to those that are still in Gaza, still in the field, still risking everything to bear witness to the atrocities, we salute you. Your courage is beyond measure, and your work is vital. And we will never forget that it is you who brought these stories to the world's doorstep, regardless of how dangerous the path may be. And to those in the media who remain silent, I say this: you are not innocent. You are complicit in genocide. You have a responsibility, and your silence is violence. Your neutrality is cowardice. There is no two sides to a genocide. There is no balance when one side is being erased, when one side is being obliterated and starved off the face of the earth. You have a choice. And that choice is not just about what the stories report. It is about whose lives matter enough to report on. It is about whether you will allow the power structures of oppression to dictate the narrative, or whether you will choose to be on the side of truth, the side of justice, and the side of humanity. No more equivocating. No more delay. This is a moment of choice. We demand that the media stop being complicit in genocide. We demand you stop justifying the deaths of journalists, the deaths of children, the deaths of mothers and fathers and grandparents and grandchildren. We demand that you expose the full extent of Israel's brutality. We demand that you name the culprit of these barbaric war crimes. We demand that you show the world the reality of living under siege, under occupation, under apartheid. Because what is happening in Gaza is not an attack on just the Palestinian people. It is an attack on all of us. It is an attack on our conscience, on our morality, our ethics, and our principles. When you allow a regime to systematically silence journalists, to slaughter civilians, to tear apart families, you are not just watching history unfold. You are enabling its darkest chapters. So tonight, as we mourn the loss of Anas Al Sharif and the over 230 other journalists who have been brutally killed by Israel, we also make a promise. We will not forget. We will continue the fight for justice, for accountability, and for the truth. We will demand that the media once and for all step up to the moment and be on the right side of history. This visual is both a tribute to the truth tellers Israel is trying to silence, but also a searing indictment that the media industry has allowed these stories to be buried. You only target journalists when the truth is your enemy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.